The man has a peculiar habit. He must observe the ants in his fish tank every night, or he can't sleep. However, he doesn't like ants. He merely enjoys the thrill of spying on their lives. Indeed, Koro is a perverted voyeur in his daily life as well. Despite his honest and simple appearance, he constantly thinks about sneaking into others' homes to spy. Koro is a real estate agent, so clients often entrust him with their keys. When the clients aren't home, Koro sneaks into their houses, examines their personal items and living environments, and even repairs any broken furniture he finds. Before leaving, Koro selects an item to photograph and take to his secret basement. Finally, Koro will carefully cut a wallpaper and use it to frame the items he brought back on the wall. Each new addition to his collection represents another satisfaction of his voyeuristic desires. But the room he most wants to spy on belongs to this girl. The first time Koro sees her, she is eating a sausage. Yet, on social media, she posts pictures of vegetable salads, claiming to be a vegetarian. Her contradictory actions and graceful figure intrigue Koro. Koro searches online and discovers her name is Sora, and she has 280,000 followers. Most of her posts feature gourmet food, luxury items, and she frequently rescues stray cats and dogs. This makes Koro even more curious about her. She doesn't work but is wealthy and kind-hearted. Koro repeatedly tries to crack the code to Sora's house. He even uses transparent tape and flour to extract fingerprints and guess the password, but he fails each time. Unexpectedly, Sora contacts Koro herself. She says she needs to move for work and asks Koro to rent out her house.
거짓말. 들어가 보는 거네요?
Although he knows she is lying, Koro doesn't mind and takes the job. He is eager to spy on Sora's room. With the house key, Koro successfully sneaks into Sora's home.
완벽합니다.
After satisfying his voyeuristic desires, he takes an empty bottle of cosmetic product and photographs it as usual. He also unclogs the sink, finding many contact lenses and hair. That night, Sora updates a video of rescuing a stray cat and live streams her experience. Her followers praise her for being kind and lovely. Feeling unsatisfied, Koro returns to Sora's house the next day, but he finds Sora at home. Koro considers calling the police but fears his voyeurism will be discovered. So, that evening, he arranges for a couple interested in renting the house to visit, making them the first witnesses and avoiding trouble himself. Sure enough, screams come from the room. Koro is stunned. He searches the entire house but finds no body or bloodstains. This leaves him confused and anxious. The next day, Koro receives a red envelope. Someone has photographed Sora's body and Koro entering her house, leaving a strand of Koro's hair at the scene. Clearly, the killer wants to frame Koro. Koro then receives a notice that the glass cabinet holding his mother's urn has been vandalized. Without surveillance, the administrator doesn't know who did it. As Koro leaves, he is nearly hit by a truck, making the situation even stranger. Meanwhile, a woman named Mia goes to the police, reporting that her good friend Sora has been missing for days. The police find out that Sora was last seen with Koro. Facing the female officer's questions, Koro pretends to be calm, saying he was only helping Sora rent her house and knows nothing else. He hands over the house key to the officer and then hides outside the window to watch the police search Sora's room. The officer finds a trace of blood under the sofa, causing the police to take the case seriously. Koro realizes the gravity of the situation and knows he must find the real killer quickly, or he will be framed. He spends the night reviewing Sora's social media accounts. After watching thousands of videos, he discovers that Sora had a feud with another female influencer. This woman, Mia, mimics Sora's videos and photos and frequently insults her. Koro believes Mia has a strong motive for murder, so he analyzes Mia's videos to find her address. When Mia isn't home, Koro sneaks in through the window. He finds many red envelopes identical to the ones sent by the killer. He also discovers that Mia has been in long-term contact with someone via email. The ID of this person seems familiar to Koro. He recalls seeing comments from this ID under every video Sora posted, all of which are harassing and obscene. Koro searches for this ID on social media and finds that the person is a perverted stalker. He follows Sora everywhere and imitates everything she does. The stalker seems more suspicious than Mia. Could they have conspired to kill Sora? Koro returns home with a head full of questions, but he immediately senses something is wrong. The position of his shoes has changed, and as an experienced voyeur, he notices every detail. Suddenly, two assailants attack Koro. Fortunately, they are not very skilled, and Koro barely manages to fend them off. During the fight, he removes one assailant's helmet, revealing the stalker he had just researched online. The other assailant is likely Mia. Koro immediately calls the police, saying Mia and the stalker killed Sora and tried to kill him to silence him. The female officer takes Koro seriously and goes home with him to check. However, the stalker is still in Koro's home. Not only is the stalker dead, but Koro's anti-tank is also smashed. Koro finds a red envelope in the dirt pile and becomes tense. Inside the envelope are photos of Koro with the stalker and pictures of him entering Sora's room. But Koro had told the officer he didn't know the stalker and hadn't been to Sora's house. All the evidence points to Koro, and no matter how he explains, the officer believes he killed Sora and the stalker. Koro doesn't want to take the fall, so he breaks free from the officer and escapes. Later, forensic analysis reveals that the blood on Koro's shoe matches the blood found in Sora's house, making him a fugitive. To prove his innocence, Koro goes to the stalker's house to find evidence. The room is filled with stolen lingerie, confirming the stalker's perversion. Koro finds a note in the trash with the address of the place where his mother's urn is stored. Realizing something, he quickly drives away. While the administrator isn't looking, Koro takes his mother's urn. Inside, he finds a bloodstained knife, likely the murder weapon used on Sora. There's also a red envelope with a message: "If the police find your basement, you're finished." The killer knows about his secret basement where he keeps his collection, which is a blatant threat. Fear and anger cloud Koro's mind. Since the stalker is already dead, the killer can only be Mia. Mia, who is live streaming, suddenly hears a banging on the door. An enraged Koro bursts in. He grabs Mia by the neck, forcing her to confess, but Mia denies being the killer. She explains that she contacted the stalker because he had been harassing her, so she introduced him to Sora to divert his attention. Moreover, the online feud between her and Sora was a scripted act to gain attention. In reality, they were very close, and Sora would share some of the donations and tips with Mia. As for the red envelopes, they were used by Sora to give Mia money. Koro suddenly remembers the cosmetic product he took from Sora's house. Its scent is similar to the scent on the other assailant. Could it be that Sora is not dead? It turns out that Sora is not a kind girl but a complete devil. She has been greedy and selfish since childhood, even planning to sell her mentally disabled brother to human traffickers. Her parents discovered this and kicked her out. She changed her name and moved to Seoul to become a prostitute. Although this made money quickly, it couldn't keep up with her spending. She then thought of a more profitable way: adopting stray cats and dogs to scam donations from kind-hearted people. To gain attention and sympathy, she would cruelly break the legs of stray cats and then cry during live streams about how pitiful the cats were. Additionally, her online arguments with Mia attracted more attention, resulting in many donations and tips flowing into her account. One day, while reviewing a live stream replay, Sora noticed she was being followed by Koro. The next day, while showing off a stolen designer bag, she saw Koro following her again. Sora suspected that Koro had discovered her cruelty to stray cats. If Koro exposed her, she would be ruined and might even go to jail. Terrified, Sora decided to kill Koro. She began stalking Koro and discovered he was a perverted voyeur. Sora immediately devised a perfect crime plan, but she couldn't execute it alone, so she seduced the stalker to help her. Sora first asked Koro to rent out her house, knowing that once Koro got the key, he would definitely spy on her home. She then returned home, drew a bag of blood from herself, and poured it on the sofa, leaving a drop at the entrance. She used paint to fake the blood on her clothes. Finally, Sora held her breath and pretended to be a corpse. Soon after, Koro entered the house and stepped in the blood at the entrance. After Koro fled in fear, Sora took a photo of herself. She then placed a strand of her hair next to the blood and took another photo. She cleaned up the blood in the room, leaving a bit under the sofa for the police to find. Sora took Koro's knife from his basement and smeared it with blood. She instructed the stalker to place it in Koro's mother's urn, creating the illusion that Koro hid the murder weapon after killing. To make Koro panic and lose his judgment, Sora sent him the photos and orchestrated a car accident. The next step was to kill Koro and stage his death as a suicide. Sora would then act as a kidnapped victim at the scene. After all, no one would suspect a philanthropist, and no one would believe a voyeur. But the stalker was too weak to handle Koro, exposing himself. The cowardly stalker insisted on going to the police, so Sora initiated Plan B. She gently comforted the stalker and gave him a sweet kiss. Suddenly, In no time, the stalker's body became as stiff as his private parts. Sora left a red envelope containing a photoshopped picture of Koro and the stalker. With the stalker dead, Sora had to adjust her plan. She used an automatic ball launcher to bruise herself, then went to Koro's basement. She knew Koro would return to destroy his voyeuristic evidence after seeing the threatening note in the urn. Sora stabbed Koro and then herself. Pinned down by Koro, Sora screamed for help, knowing she had called the police before coming. Koro realized he was framed again. The incompetent police let Koro escape once more, but Sora didn't care. Koro couldn't clear his name. She fabricated a story during her live stream about Koro kidnapping her, gaining more followers. However, Sora overlooked a fatal flaw in her plan. She claimed Koro kidnapped her, but how would she explain the photo? If the police saw it, all her lies would be exposed. Koro had the photo and used it to threaten Sora into meeting him. Sora had no choice but to go. Koro exposed her plan face to face. He also discovered Sora's darker side. She poisoned the stray cats and dogs she adopted after receiving donations. Koro noticed she often went to a small forest, likely to bury their bodies. But Sora showed no remorse. She said she cried for them, but she had no choice to survive. She suddenly tasered Koro and tied him up. Sora planned to burn charcoal to kill Koro with carbon monoxide, staging his death as a suicide. But Koro didn't seem afraid. Sora followed his gaze and found a hidden camera Koro had set up. Sora smugly smashed it, but Koro's mixed expression puzzled her. Koro had already given the contact lenses he found at Sora's house to the police. Matching the DNA on them with the DNA on the stalker's lips would prove Sora's guilt. The female officer also discovered that Sora's colleague Hiren, from her prostitution days, had disappeared 2 years ago. Koro remembered Sora often stomped angrily in a clearing. The police dug there and found a female body and many cat and dog corpses. Sora didn't deny it. She said Hiren blackmailed her for 1 million, threatening to expose her past if she didn't pay. So Sora killed her. Koro's relentless probing drove Sora mad. Fortunately, the police arrived in time to save Koro from the crazed woman. Sora was ultimately charged with murder, while Koro was sentenced to a year for invading others' privacy. The media, however, didn't care about the charges. They were more curious about how Sora maintained her perfect figure in prison. Some agencies even wanted to make her a prison influencer. This film not only tells the story of two perverts, but also reflects the chaos of social media in the modern era. In reality, many similar tragedies occur, with young people obsessed with consumerism aspiring to become the next Sora.